now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Brought to you by Subway. Eat fresh. Time.
I'm just giving them a second to cue up the music. Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, Anne-Marie. Audrey's here this morning. Good morning to the beautiful Judy. Happy hump day. It is hump day. Good morning, Lizette.
Morning.
What's up, Sandy? What's up?
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You're very low. I don't know if you're just speaking softly.
Yeah, it could just be my voice, to be honest.
Oh,
Still in recovery mode. I actually had a little episode yesterday, practically on the air. I'll fill
what'd you have?
Folks later on, but
Episode of what?
Yeah, this cold is just killing my butt. Like it's just killing my butt, I should say.
Yeah, I was like, huh?
Yeah.
It's killing your butt.
I was going to say, Sandy says phrases like me, completely like close, but off in a wrong way.
Yeah.
But we got Lucky joining us from Paris. Hey, Lucky. But yeah, what happened yesterday on the show was I decided to take some meds because the day before I completely forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh yeah, I've got this Everflu, whatever. It's like the prescription
Tamiflu, which is good.
Yes, and it's supposed to be the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like what?
It's good for COVID. Tamiflu.
Okay,
That's what they say.
If you start, oh yeah, and they also say that about ivermectin.
Yeah, right.
Just not saying. I'll let a doctor confirm.
So we just have to ask the question: do you think you have COVID?
No, no,
Okay,
no.
just checking.
No, I would have gone and got tested. Although some people are like, get tested with every little thing now, but no, I mean, there's signs, I think, when it's just a head cold that that's all it is.
I did
Nothing
watch a little bit
more.
of your show last night, by the way, which I thought was very interesting.
Super interesting. Yeah, I didn't get to catch it, but what
Yeah.
went on a little bit? What was some surprising stuff?
I was surprised, just as a parent, to hear your expert on talking about. You had asked, what kind of kids are in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, all different kinds, healthy kids, kids with underlying conditions, the gamut. But then one thing that came out of that was, which I found kind of shocking, was she said the majority common thread between all the kids that were in the hospital with COVID being treated were obese.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes, that is interesting.
yeah, she said obesity was the common thread.
Well, I mean, they say diabetics have an issue.
Mhm.
Obesity. There are underlying factors that we already do know of what a demographic is. Now, again, you can be completely healthy, as we found out.
Yeah.
Like we always that you hear those stories sprinkled in every once in a while, but yeah, that's upsetting to hear.
So she said, if you have an obese child, certainly something to keep an eye on if you start seeing symptoms, because obviously the sooner you get treatment, the better.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing for adults. This is why some adults were like, oh, well, I'm not a diabetic, or I don't have all of these other comorbidities. Apparently with COVID being, and when we say obese, folks, that's 75% of the Cayman population right there. That counts as a comorbidity. And we saw that early on, in fact, that people who were, overweight, it doesn't work in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't surprised by that as it relates to children, to be honest. So yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, that's just a big issue in general, because children, you got to really try to. I know they'll say, oh, I don't want to eat that. It's like, okay, fine. You do have to really, as a parent, force them to eat better, and that's a whole different situation outside of COVID. But yeah, it is hard to see when some people just give up, because I have I know people who would just feed their kids like McDonald's back in the States. It's like, oh, you got to stop doing that. You've got to start getting some healthy stuff in them.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, what about today? We heard the government passed a bill mandating COVID-19 vaccinations for non-Caymanians. That's pretty big news.
Yes, it happened 11-7. So there were some amendments, and I'm trying to. Oh, you said there might be a little issue with my mic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here, but
Jiggle the cable or something.
Yeah.
Tap it with a hammer.
I'll have a look at that here in a second. But yeah, I mean, we definitely saw that happening. There were some amendments that were actually made to it. And I saw one of the headlines actually saying something about, civil servants. Like, a lot of people felt like if there's one group that they needed to mandate, it should be civil servants.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. You're in the front lines,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's work permit
holders. has done it in a roundabout kind of way. Like, they've done it at contract renewal. And let's be fair to the HSA, 85% of them, the last time we checked, were actually vaccinated.
That's good. I didn't know that. That's good to know. But I mean, there's still expats in the civil service.
Of course. So, yes.
Yeah.
I don't get how you can. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. So, I mean, I'm not sure how the government will do that, because they're not work permit holders, because government they're on contract.
Yeah.
So they're not required to have a work permit. So that will certainly be interesting.
But isn't that teachers as well then? Or is that only for public school teachers? You know what I mean?
Yes, that's a good question. We'll try to find some of those things out, Aaron, because those are some of the nuances now of legislation that you really need to understand.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, so the way that I looked at it yesterday, so the last 2 days I was in like
voluntary quarantine.
Yeah, we were just doing our bit just to make sure we weren't spreading it any further. If possible, other cases came from Sprague. So far, nothing. And I think they're waiting on I think they're done. I think it's over because they said, oh, you can open. So Sprague's is open today. But anyway, so basically we stayed at home, but being that close into contact with someone is almost like traveling here, and you take all the precautions and then you test negative, and yet you're still in quarantine. Like, how is there's a different situation for us where it's already community spread, and then someone coming back to their home, and yet they're negative tests and they're still having to say 15 days or maybe depending on their vaccine status. I don't know. I just was looking at it, I'm like, it's kind of flimsy, it's kind of half on one side and full on another side. And so I just that's where I need clarification on where we're going and how are we going to move forward. And I think a lot of people want to know, how are we going to go forward to live with this in a normal situation where, I wasn't gone for 14 days because luckily it didn't spread. People are vaccinated. And
one of the things you'll be interested to know, Erin, is that the isolation time has been reduced for households that are completely vaccinated. So obviously this wouldn't be households that have children that can't get vaccinated.
Yeah.
But they have reduced that isolation time from 14 to 10 days. So I think that helps for some people who have to go into isolation where they have a primary contact. That maybe,
Yeah, but that's the thing. And then there's a primary contact. Like, what justifies the primary contact? Because that wasn't my kid's class that it happened in. So that's not a primary.
I think Dr. Lee has specified that before. It's something like, within close proximity, more than 15 minutes with that person.
Yeah,
Isn't that right? Something like that?
Definition that they use.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. All right.
Any update on the First Baptist Christian School? Is that closed today? There was a positive in that school. So I don't know if it's a student or staff member.
Yeah, that was actually a student. I'm trying to remember what their breaking thing was yesterday. I'll have to be honest, I didn't follow up to see what they were doing, but I know parents were picking kids up yesterday. They were told to come and get them. So I'm assuming, let me see if I can just have a quick perusal. Nothing on their social media pages to update parents. I know, I was having a look. But yeah, I'm assuming that they would be closed today because they did take that step of asking everyone to pick up their kids yesterday. I'll see if I can find that out and post something on social.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's making its move. It's kind of like right now, a bit of a guessing game, like what school will be next. Red Bay Primary had a positive yesterday. So this is their first positive
That's
in
right.
this batch. But as you guys will remember, I almost forgot this, that they actually were the first school in the Cayman Islands to have a positive. Do you guys remember that last year?
Yes.
And in fact, ironically enough, it was almost 1 year to the date. It was October the 9th last year, 2020.
Was it really?
Happened.
Because I remember when it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so now we are here almost a year later. And, that now they have another positive case again. So they're also going through the process. So yeah, First Baptist Christian School and Preschool, nothing up on their website since their social media page since the 24th. So I don't know if we have any parents that are listening. They're part of that.
They need to get a new social media person.
I know.
Somebody over there wearing too many hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob, you didn't put it up on Facebook. Damn it. Forgot.
Well, Facebook was down.
I was cleaning the floors.
Facebook was down.
That is true. That is true.
But, I mean, one interesting thing is I do see the photo that they have up. They have a couple photos up on the 24th, and their kids are wearing masks. I must say, kudos to them. I see some of their preschoolers, it looks like, and they're all wearing masks, sitting around the teacher in the gymnasium.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Sandy, we hope you feel better. I know you're a little under the weather.
Are you talking to Miles? Oh, you under the weather.
Under the weather. I hope you feel better.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Feel better.
Day.
All right. And we'll catch you tomorrow on the show.
Awesome.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, folks. I am going to fill you guys in. Is the mic any better? I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the mic. I don't see anything that's obvious. Let me see. I'm just going to turn up the volume. I don't see anything that's obvious. Good morning, Miss Joy. Miss Marva says good morning from quarantine. Again, Miss Marva is one of those people who lives in quarantine. Dan says all that work done by the Cayman Islands to keep it COVID free. Well, I think that, quite frankly, Dan, it's one of those things that you have to know just isn't a long-term solution. There is this concept, we can talk about it, called COVID. It's COVID zero theory or whatever. China has tried it. Let me tell you about it. COVID zero strategy. And the bottom line is it's not a long-term strategy. So let's talk about that, Dan, in just a second. Good morning to Miss Alice. Good morning, Carol. COVID free is not sustainable. It isn't. That's the bottom line. Felicia, good morning. Is the mic any better? Diamond Princess. Marshall. Yeah, I can see that's a little bit low. Let me try to adjust it there. I don't know if that's any better. Any better? Can anybody hear me? Yes, it's not a sustainable position at all. Wee Wee's here. Good morning, Miss Sue. Still not sustainable to keep people locked away for 10 days. So we'll talk about that. I think eventually we will move away from that. Charlene says, is every school infected? No, believe it or not, there's still some that aren't there yet, but it's probably only a matter of time. Thank you so much, Bishop Hero Blair. I am feeling so much better. I got to tell you guys what happened. I'm still a little bit, not 100%. So yesterday I was sitting here and I was thinking to myself, I'm not feeling 100%. Let me go grab that. It's the prescription Thermaflu. Yeah, Thermaflu. Tamiflu. Tamiflu, I think, but it's called something else. Anyway, so I thought, right, I'll grab this Tamiflu and I'll be good to go, right? I'll be feeling just fine and blah, blah, blah. So I did a commercial break, like I played a video, and then I went and grabbed it and I took it. And literally within 10 minutes, I felt so incredibly sick. Because here's the kicker. This is where you got to pay attention to what the label says. So I took it, and if you're watching yesterday's show, you will remember me saying, oh my God, I'm really not feeling well. I've got to, I've got to go and lie down or something. Like my head was starting to feel a little bit weird. And then I got nauseous. And normally when you get nauseous, that's not a good sign, right? And literally that did not end well. So I was taking this Enfluvir tablet, hard gelatin tablet. So anyway, one of the things that you're supposed to do with this is take it with food. And I kind of forgot that. So the main components, ingredients in this Tamiflu has it and some other things, but this particular one is Enfluvir. Yes. And you're supposed to take it with food. And I forgot that little detail that apparently is really, really important. And I didn't take it with food because I didn't have anything to eat since like 5 o'clock the day before. So I truly had an empty stomach. And can I tell you? Well, when you get nauseous and an empty stomach, the only thing you're bringing up is your morning tea. So yeah, I had to take it easy for a couple hours. Had to go and just like literally run in the shower, just shower, and then just crash in bed until I think I got up like after 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock or something. So I did eat something, just like 2 little bites or something. So this morning, I don't intend to repeat that. So I've got a nice bowl of fresh fruit. So there we go. I got me some oranges, vitamin C, bananas, cantaloupe, and strawberries. Nice colorful bowl of yummy fruits this morning. If you guys watch this show, I seldom eat breakfast in the morning, and it's one of those things that I really need to work on. Johan Moxham, good morning. You know, when I used to hang out with Johan was a good influence on me because I would eat breakfast with Johan and the gang there at Full of Beans. It was easier to get into that kind of a routine, but now it's a little bit more challenging because I'm at home and it's like, just jump in the studio. Lisa, good morning. So how are you? So yes, I mean, if you missed last night's episode, please go check it out. Because you'll be very well informed, I think. She answered a lot of questions, which I think were useful. So there's different types of coronaviruses, first of all. So the one that's on everyone's radar at the moment is obviously the COVID SARS-2, commonly known as COVID-19. That is very different from the other types of coronavirus. And that's why one of the conspiracy theories is, oh, well, coronavirus has been around forever. It's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal because it's been around forever, but not in this particular form. So this one has been a super big deal. This is a pandemic, folks. So let's not underestimate what this virus is doing. Celine, good morning. John says that New Zealand just gave up on it also. Well, let's talk about New Zealand because my apologies for crunching, but you know, New Zealand, they were doing their best. You know, they have that nice lady who's their president, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, yeah. And this concept of COVID elimination has been one that they've been really, really trying hard to sustain. And John is absolutely right. Not only have they announced that people coming into their borders must be vaccinated, they also indicated on Monday that they're going to be moving away from the zero COVID strategy. Now, the reason why is because it simply doesn't work. It's a very logical reason why they have to abandon it. We have all had to come to the realization, and this is where the people of this country need to really get with the program. And this is where I have an issue with politicians now playing politics with this and trying to deceive the people. So, for example, when they say, oh, you know, they expect us to live with it, they're comparing that to like polio, like telling us to live with polio. Well, good sir. And again, I am referring to the comments of none other than Alden McLaughlin, who is really the opposition leader, in case y'all missed it. This is what's happening in that camp. And if that's not obvious, then I don't know what is. But his position that we have to live with COVID and that there's something inherently wrong with that is a little bit off. Not a little bit, a lot off, because this comment makes no sense. This is a political comment. This is not a scientific comment. This is not a comment based on any real world situation, what's happening elsewhere in the world. Literally everywhere else in the world, it's coming to the realization that they have to live with it. There's no elimination of this. Thank you, Al. I do feel a lot better today for sure. Breakfast is your most important meal of the day. My Aunt Lottie always used to tell me that. She's like, breakfast is your key meal. If you eat nothing else, eat breakfast. And I was like, yeah. She used to force me to eat it when I was in high school and younger. And then when I went on my own, I'm like, oh, gotta be on the run first thing in the morning, but you need that fuel. So New Zealand has said they're going to be abandoning their elimination attempts. And you know what has been the game changer? And again, this is where it comes down to science. The Delta variant has been the game changer. Maybe if the Alpha variant was still around, we could still be having this conversation about elimination. So the other thing that the former premier, did yesterday in terms of politics, somebody sent me this clip. Let me see if I can find it. Where he made a joke about how, he was listening to some guys, and one of them said that, listen to me, there were so many audio clips that I got. I still haven't had time to go through a substantial portion of the Legislative Assembly proceedings, but I have to do that. So he told this, I guess what he thought was a joke, where he said he overheard a conversation at a bar. The second he said that, let me see if there's it. Oh no, he gets a little bit rude and feisty too. I'm gonna show you guys some of these. Hold on. This dude, oh, do I have it? Oh yes, hold on one second. I got a little secret co-host here, They're like, look, you already got that one. All right, hold on a second. So this man is all up in his Kool-Aid feelings. You talking to me? It's like, dude, listen. Remember the little kid with his mommy named Linda? And he's like, Linda. That's what I feel like saying to Alden. Linda, listen. Calm down now. Calm down. You gotta just calm down here. But he's feisty. You listen to me. I'm like, okay then. I hear you there. Hold on a second. Let me pull up this video. So there's a couple of them that are super interesting. Oh yes, you guys gotta hear this because this is woo. I didn't try to be smart, but boy, I heard that I gotta go back to Saunders the day before, which would have been Monday. Saunders, Minister Christopher Saunders, Finance Minister. I heard he put a thumping on Alden like nobody's business. So that one I want to go back and really keenly listen to. Because, when you rely on the science, it makes sense. But here's Alden's position yesterday.
Now, initially, we and everyone else, I believed and hoped that the vaccine would be something that prevented you from getting the virus once you had it administered. But this is all very new. It is still very new. The vaccines which have been developed to deal with the COVID-19 virus, the SARS-CoV, I forgot what the other things are. No vaccine in the history of the world has ever come to market, if I may put it that way, so swiftly. Indeed, when the first vaccines were rolled out, they were experimental in nature. They got special emergency permission granted by the FDA and the various other agencies in Europe and elsewhere. Because the nature of this disease and the course it was taking was so devastating, killing so many people across the world, that those in charge of public health measures across the developed countries had to weigh up, do we take some chances that there are side effects, ill effects as a result of the administering of the vaccine, or do we just sit with our arms folded and let the virus kill off the vulnerable amongst us? Indeed, Mr. Speaker, there were some countries who initially took that view. Let the herd immunity resolve the issue, and the rest of the world can get on with it. I'll tell you now, Mr. Speaker, that initially that was the UK's view. I tell you now, sir, that it was against their advice that we locked down. Because it is one thing to live in a country of 65 million people where you are anonymous or near to. Not in my country of 65,000, because I can tell the Minister of Finance, if when the census results come in, we have 71,000 people here in October, I'll buy him dinner for a month.
That sounds like a pregnant idea.
Okay, that actually wasn't the clip that I was looking for. Just hold on one second. I do have it in my phone. Just give me 1 second here. I'm actually going to just send it to Dropbox. Where is, there we go, Dropbox. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up. Yeah, that's not the clip I was looking for. All right, here we go. Dropbox says uploading. Feisty, Mr. Alden. There we go. I want to talk about some of his colleagues and how they're still failing on the job, even now. You guys would be surprised to know. There's a lot of clips of him in circulation, I must tell you. Dropbox, yes. Okay, Dropbox is just syncing. Give me 1 second. Let me just sort this by date. Here we go. All right, so this is the one that I'm thinking of. Have a listen of this.
Speaker, I can't close without telling you about a little conversation that I was in the company of in CN Bar, right up the road here, Shed Road, on Friday evening. So these two guys were having this discussion, and one of them saying, "Tell me one thing the PACT government done since they took office." So I can't think of a thing they've done. The other one said, "No, man," he said, "you're not being fair. They brought back COVID-19 into the community." Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, feisty. Yes, child, he's for real. So apparently he said he was overhearing a conversation, no doubt in the bar, because we know on a Friday evening where he's at. I could probably give you two options: South Coast or Country and Western. Anyway, he overheard this conversation, and these two guys are talking, and they say, one says, "Oh, the PACT government hasn't done anything." Well, one of the reasons why we're having Impactful Wednesdays, and Sabrina Turner is going to be coming on here in a little bit, is to actually tell you all that they've been doing. Because when you say things like the PACT government has done nothing, now y'all are just being unfair. If these are people hanging out with Alden, no doubt the part that he left out, that they were his two friends who were also PPM supporters. Of course they're going to say something like that if the conversation did take place. And I don't want to call the man dishonest. I'm sure it took place in some form or another. That's to be expected. Oh, they've done nothing. And the one guy said, "Oh, one thing they've done is to bring COVID back." And I want to talk about this because, first of all, let me say this much. It is very, very easy. The easiest thing in the world to do is to shut down a country. Do you guys comprehend what I'm saying? That was easy for Alden to do. Shut us down? That's the easy part. Trying to open up amidst a pandemic where it's raging everywhere in the world, and where, for the record, no one else has been able to reopen without COVID infections and deaths. To open up in that environment is a whole other cup of tea. And I would really love to hear. I hear them criticizing the current government. Oh, you brought COVID back. What would you have done, Alden? The truth of the matter is, anybody with a little bit of common sense who's looking at the situation would now comprehend that COVID was already back, probably before this government even got back in. We didn't know it. And this is where that saying that ignorance is bliss can be really true. So we're going about our business, we're doing our thing, not knowing that COVID is amongst us. It was only perchance that the first community spread came to light, not because the woman had any COVID symptoms. And I'm going to tell you again, she's my half sister. If she was not in her 70s, and if she didn't have these other health issues, you would not have even known that she had COVID. Because guess what? Her hospitalization has nothing to do with COVID. Her hospitalization is because of her other health issues. So, how long has it been in the community? Nobody can say. So it's very interesting for this member of the opposition to say that the current government brought COVID back. For all we know, COVID could have been here from January, February, March, April, May, before you called your earlier election. You don't know that. So don't place blame on the shoulders of this government, first of all. And a lot of the suspected areas in which COVID could be coming in with illegal people landing, that is something that has been going on way before this government took office. Check the court files, and I tell you, we see it all the time. So that's interesting that he takes that position. New Zealand has said, quite honestly, oh, sorry. Oh, CN bar as well. Yes, my apologies. I can't keep up. New Zealand has said, listen, we now recognize the zero COVID policy, which is essentially what this government, the previous government, had been doing. You know, zero COVID. We'll never get it. We can be safe, and it just is an impossibility. I want you guys to listen to what she says about the zero COVID policy. Just give me 1 second here. Because every country, I mean, if they're listening to the scientific evidence, they're recognizing that this is the order of the day. I think what Alden and the previous government have done is they've given people in this country a bit of false hope, in the sense that these people believed that we could be COVID free forever. And that belief has obviously not paid off well for the people of this country, because it's not a realistic position to have.
In fact, for this outbreak, it's clear that long periods of heavy restrictions has not got us to zero cases. But that is okay. Elimination was important because we didn't have vaccines. Now we do. So we can begin to change the way we do things. We have more options, and there's good cause for us to feel optimistic about the future. But we cannot rush. That's why we need to continue to contain and control the virus as much as possible while we make our transition from a place where we only use heavy restrictions to a place where we use vaccines and everyday public health measures. We need to keep using the tools we have. We need to vaccinate. We need to test. We need to find cases. We need to isolate them and actively control any outbreak now and in the future. This is a change in approach we were always going to make over time. The Delta outbreak has accelerated that transition, and vaccines will support it.
Oh, my apologies. Forgot to unmute my mic. Thank you so much for my WhatsApp people. What I was saying here, folks, is Dana says, I can't read your lips. Gotcha. What I was saying here is one of the things that the previous administration has not said that is extremely important is the fact that the Delta variant was not a contender when they were in office. That's not something that they had to deal with. They were still dealing with the initial Alpha variant. Now, let me be very, very honest here. This is where the previous premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, is being very disingenuous. If he was a fair and honest and balanced man, he would recognize that what the world, including the Cayman Islands, is having to deal with now with the Delta variant is an entirely different situation. And it is a different situation, folks, because the Delta variant is like I don't even know how to describe it, possibly the worst case scenario. It even impacts the efficacy of the vaccines that we have. It reduces how well they work. And so there were a lot of unknown variables going into COVID. Give the last administration their credit. They locked us down at a time when it was probably necessary to lock us down. At least we could have a good year, close to a year and a half, before we really recognize that this thing isn't going anywhere. That bought us time for vaccine to be developed, multiple vaccines to be developed and to be available, which gave the people of this country a bit of a fighting opportunity, and everyone else in the world for that matter. But you're not comparing apples to apples when you say that this government has reintroduced COVID, as though the situation that they are now in and that we're all in by extension is something that you had to contend with. The previous administration didn't have to contend with the Delta variant. No sound. Am I still having no sound? Or you guys can hear me now? Maybe those are delayed messages. I'm not sure. Nope. Looks like I got audio. I always do this to check my audio because it actually shows me that the mic is moving. So maybe refresh if you have no audio. Okay, maybe the comments are delayed. Yes. All right. Sometimes you do have to refresh, but yes. So, oh gosh. So, I do think that yeah, I do think that this is where politics comes into play, and people are just not being honest and fair about the situation. So New Zealand has said they're abandoning their zero policy, zero COVID policy strategy. The bottom line is it just doesn't work. So they've become the latest country to abandon this elimination attempt, again, in the face of the highly contagious Delta variant. That has been the game changer, folks. So they, like us, shut their borders early in the pandemic. They've reported just 4,409 COVID infections, 27 deaths. This is again from Johns Hopkins University data. And it's among the lowest case numbers of any country in the world. But an outbreak in August, sparked by the Delta strain, of course, plunged the major city of Auckland into a lockdown, a long lockdown again. Poor people. 6 weeks of restrictions and major movements. They still had 24 new cases in the community on Tuesday, and the majority were found in the same city that they have in lockdown. It just isn't working anymore. So finally, their prime minister has admitted the virus was a tentacle that has been incredibly hard to shake. That was her quote. She goes on to say, to date, we've managed to largely control the outbreak, but as you can see with this outbreak and with Delta, the return to zero is incredibly difficult. I wouldn't even say difficult. I would say impossible. It just isn't going to happen. Right? So it's challenging for leaders around the world to get up in front of you and tell you, here is the position. This is what we are dealing with. And this is the honest truth. Now, someone just commented on WhatsApp about Alden. They said, Sandra, how can you possibly put the words Alden, fair, balanced, and honest in the same sentence, even if posing a question? Some things are mutually exclusive. Yikes. What a hot mess. So this is the reality of what it is, folks. Countries are slowly recognizing that there is no such thing as elimination. That's when we say that we have to live with it. That's what we mean, right? It's not going away. We can't eliminate it. Our borders cannot remain closed forever. That's an untenable position. It's impossible. And for those of you who don't think it's impossible, look around. Just like no other country has been able to reopen without the reintroduction of COVID, that's reality. No country has been able to have a zero COVID policy. That's reality. Even China, they've been doing their best. It just ain't happening, folks. Right? So I think that, this is where I wouldn't want to be a leader, because to get up and tell y'all, listen, some of us are going to die. The people that you love are going to die. Maybe even a child, because y'all been overfeeding them and you got obese children. We have obese children, not me personally, but doesn't matter. An obese child, I could have an obese child, right? We're all in the same boat, that your children are going to die. Do you think any leader wants to tell you that? Y'all already in panic mode, and I'm telling it to you because y'all need to calm down. I'm not telling it to you to put you in panic mode. I'm telling it to you because you need to get realistic. And the only thing we have, and it's not ivermectin to make you go poop yourself. It's not Dr. T coming to the rescue like the A-Team. Did y'all see that meme with Dr. T and the A-Team? That was pretty funny. It's none of those things. What it is, right? It is a vaccine, wearing your mask, social distancing, washing your hands, things that we know help to control the spread and slow down the spread of the virus, not eliminate it. This isn't about elimination. That's the cold hard truth. That's where we're at. And if you don't want to hear that, you want to keep your head stuck in the ground, and you don't want to believe that the vaccine works because you're an anti-vaxxer, you're pro-ivermectin, you're pro-vitamin D, and all these other things, then you're going to have to live with the consequences. And we all will have to live with the consequences. So, when I hear a friend telling me they would rather die than take the vaccine, I said, okay. Now that I understand your position, you may very well get that chance. But you see, the problem is you're going to get that chance to die since you're so ready to go. That's great for you. But other people, because of your decision, will also be getting that chance to potentially die. And that's where I have an issue. Like, if you don't care about your life, if you don't value your life, and you're like, yeah, COVID can take me any minute now, I'm ready. The Lord is ready to take me kind of philosophy. Good. That's fine. I ain't got no problems with you if it only impacts you, but it doesn't only impact you. So when you sit down and, refuse to get vaccinated, and we have this opportunity to try to suppress it as much as possible, and you don't take up that choice, and it is a choice, but it's a choice that impacts a lot of people, then yeah, I have a problem with that. It's a bit of a sad situation that people don't understand how their choices impact other people, and they continue to rely on this rhetoric that it doesn't. So people are going to die. It is what it is. Someone says regarding Alden's comments, my late granny always said, a fool is known by the multitude of their words, and it's better to be seen than heard sometimes. Well, interesting. I think when it comes to politics, though, they think that the more that they are heard, the better. What a hot mess. I want to show you guys this Mr. T. It is a little bit funny, actually. You know, Kevin Watler has been doing a fantastic job of making available to us a lot of experts, folks. And if you've been missing it, you are really missing some factual information. In fact, I sent it to one of these anti-vaxxers, aka "Ooh, I'm only pro-choice" persons, because they've made a lot of comments about like the mask wearing, and we talked quite a bit about that. There's a lot of questions about mask wearing last night, and I said to this individual, hey, if you're really interested in finding out about masks, because you're like, oh, if I wear a mask, I'm going to pass out. I thought it's so interesting when people are asking about young children wearing masks, right? And the good doctor said last night, listen, children are very adaptable. Especially the younger they are, the more likely they are to adapt to new habits very, very quickly. And I know this from babies. I remember when I was talking to my good doctor about how to break my daughter from her night bottle. And the doctor said, listen, she's only, 6 months old or whatever it was that we were doing it at the time. She said 3 nights. That's all it takes. And I was like, what? 3 nights? That's it? She's like, yeah. 3 nights, you can break any habit in a baby. But it's going to be tough those first 2 nights, particularly. And I thought, all right, but I can survive 2 nights. I mean, come on, pull up my big girl panties. I can do this. Ooh, that first night, Lord Jehovah. The crying and the tantrums and the second night wasn't as bad, but it was still bad. And by night number 3, it's like she'd forgotten all about the bottle. I was like, 3 nights? That's all it takes to break a new habit in a baby? So Dr. Claudia said last night, go back and watch it in case you missed it. Mask wearing, even amongst really young children, 5-year-olds, isn't as difficult as their parents want it to believe. It's the parents who actually are making such a big deal about it. We're the ones like, oh my God, my baby can't wear a mask. And the children hear us moaning and groaning and complaining about these things, and then they will pick up the habit. And I tend to agree with her, because I remember when masks first came in, the thing that I thought for my daughter that I picked up on, it wasn't so much that she had an issue with wearing a mask. And we had to find a mask that actually fit her, because she has a very small face. She's very petite, right? And she has a very small face. So even the children's masks are like falling down. So we finally got some that have like the adjustable earpieces, and they really properly cover her face. But the thing with her, when we initially went into lockdown last year, and when she could finally go out, we had to wear masks. What was, because she'd never seen people wearing masks before, it was a little scary the first couple of times, because she's like, why are people wearing masks? And she was afraid, and she expressed it, I'm afraid of, like, why is everybody wearing a mask? As she got to understand that there's a virus out there called COVID, and this is something that can make people sick. And one of the ways that we try to prevent people from getting sick is by putting a mask on. Well, lo and behold, now I have no issues with her. And to be honest, after she got an explanation, she's like, okay, it wasn't that she had an issue wearing a mask. She was just like really scared. Like, why is everybody wearing a mask? It looks so weird. Now we continue to wear them, maybe back to wearing them, I should say. And it's the norm. She's cool with it. I haven't been really taking her to the grocery store since this last outbreak, but I had no choice late yesterday evening. So I took her for a quick trip. We got the mask in the car. I'm like, okay, we got to put on her mask because we're going to the grocery store. She didn't ask a single question, and she's only 5 years old. She didn't ask one question. I put mine on. We have matching masks, and we were good to go. So, we create and we set the standard for our children. Someone said to me today, oh, kids in high school, they're like wearing masks and they're all stressed out about it. That's because y'all making the kids stressed out. Those children are vaping and doing all kind of stuff, swapping saliva and sharing stuff. You need to talk to your children because you'd be surprised how else they're potentially spreading this virus. So mask wearing in schools apparently makes a big difference. And there's an article about the UK and their non-mask wearing policy that we're going to talk about over the next couple of days. So the US has already reported that 39,000 older or disabled Americans through May of this year have been saved because of the vaccination. So even in its first couple months, for those of you who don't believe vaccines work, here's your data. The US coronavirus vaccine campaign saved the lives of tens of thousands of older people in particular, because remember, they were the most vulnerable and they were in that first wave. Now the federal government has released a report on Tuesday that shows from January, when the vaccines became available, through May, vaccines prevented about 265,000 cases, 107,000 hospitalizations, and 39,000 deaths among Medicare recipients. Only that group. So they would be over the age of 65 or disabled. Now, keep in mind that between January and May of this year, there was still a relatively small number of individuals who would have even received a vaccine. So that makes a big difference. Now, let's be very, very clear here, folks. What are we talking about? 265,000 cases, 107,000 hospitalizations, and 39,000 deaths. That's a lot. The hospitalization numbers alone for a system that is already overburdened is amazing to know that 107,000 hospitalizations were prevented between January and May. The bottom line, folks, is once again, vaccinations work. Are they 100%? No, honey child. No vaccination is 100%. None ever in the history of mankind. That's why when people stop vaccinating, polio and whooping cough and all these things can reemerge. Measles can reemerge. Smallpox can reemerge. Because there's no such thing as 100% when it comes to vaccines. But if you can get into 98, 97%, you will suppress it to the point where you think that it has been eliminated. Not a single one of us on this program, I'm sure of it, unless you're over a certain age, can say that we've ever seen a person with smallpox, that we know anyone who's ever had polio, measles, mumps, rubella, all these things we don't know nothing about. And the reasons why we don't know anything about them is because modern medicine and vaccinations have worked incredibly well. Lavana, good morning. She's cooking in the kitchen, child. Lavana, I was thinking about something the other day. I was reading an article yesterday that was saying a lot of businesses who rely on, WhatsApp for orders like you do, we're now rethinking what's their backup plan. Like if this happens again, which it can happen. If Facebook goes down, if WhatsApp goes down, what's your plan B for getting people to order? And one girl said that she is going to start building a website because she sells like jewelry, like handmade jewelry, and she's going to start building a website and start trying to direct her customers to order through the website, something that perhaps she has a little bit more control over. It's interesting because I think a lot of us rely on social media for the things that we do, including CMR. But that taught us day before yesterday. Woo, what a mess. And you know what my husband said to me last night? He said, Sandy, guess what fixed it? And I was like, I don't know. They restarted the servers. I was like, what? Because he was saying to me, I was having a little issue with my computer. And he said, when was the last time you restarted? I'm like, again? And he said, listen to me. You run so much stuff on that machine. You need to restart every couple of days. I hate restarting because I do have a lot of windows open. And now I have to remember, like, I have to copy my links. And he's like, just restart the machine. And sure enough, I restarted it. I hate to say he's right, but of course, IT is his thing. I restarted it and it worked. And he said, He said, you're like Facebook, girl. He said, that's what fixed Facebook. They restarted the servers. And I said, hold on a second. It took them 6 hours to figure out that they just needed to restart a server because somebody had made some changes to something that impacted the DNS. I was like, Lord have mercy. What a hot mess. Anyway, a few comments, and then we're going to bring in the Honorable Sabrina Turner. Tristan says, how do you test for the Delta variant? What are the ways you test for it? And how do you know if it's a Delta strain? Well, you need the short answer is you need the equipment to be able to test for it. It's a special test part of the test kit, and we do have that. So we've been testing for the Delta variant now for a number of months. So I can't remember when we first detected it, that it was here. I'd have to try to go back and backtrack that. But the bottom line is it's actually been here even before we could detect it. We were pretty sure that it was in the jurisdiction. Oh my gosh, sorry. Ooh, I'm alternating between my tea and my water. So Cara says Alden especially needs to, because he's a leader of his little backbench crew. He plays dirty and seems to still have a child's mentality with pointing fingers at this one and that one. I don't know how he doesn't see how childish his actions and behaviors are. Well, you know what? He doesn't really care, is the conclusion that I've come to. I'm pretty sure that he's intellectually capable enough to know that he's being childish. It's like this other one. Hold on one second. Let me show you this other one that he did that was kind of interesting.
What's your problem, sir? You talking to me? You'll get your chance, man. That's how it works here. When I sit down, someone else will stand up.
Boy, he sounded hot under the collar. He was even breathing hard and had to take a drink of water. You talking to me? That real Caymanian accent came out, He had Georgetowner. They are childish, yes. And sometimes I think, do they forget the cameras are running? Like, dude, all of this is being caught on camera. Have you forgotten? Y'all save your clips for the next election. Because I don't know what Sammy can do, but whoever decides to run, they keep saying that, Alden's going to retire. Child, he's not going nowhere. That's the best job ever. Do very little and get paid very well. So anyway, Charlene says, I'm extremely proud and satisfied with my PACT government. Yes, Sue says he's still bitter about the May election or the April election. Was it April or May? Was it May? April. It was April. Yes. So yeah, they're still bitter, but it's time to get over that now. Y'all need to move on. So Dana says the current PACT government, just watch Kathy Ebanks in action. Don't tell me the new government isn't doing anything. Stuff a sock in it, poor McNothing. Miss Darlene, how was things in the UK? Yes, no, listen, you better believe that. Nobody, not swearing for nobody around here. First of all, we're all human beings, and I guess we're subject to change our mind. And yes, politics is a whole other cup of tea, child. But at the same time, I believe in calling a spade, Miss Darlene, and what you see is what you see, and what you get is what you get. So y'all want to see how much the previous government is doing? Since we're on that topic, and I don't want to take any more time from the honorable minister who's coming on here, but like I said, when we want to be fair and impartial, and we want to call people out for not doing X, Y, Z and the next thing, it does kind of remind me of this video that I just received this morning. Someone sent this to me and they said, "Hey, Sandy, look at this." All right, so let me put that in context for you. The comment that came with that is, good morning, Sandy. 6 months ago, these parks were rushed to fool people that John was doing something for them. Look at the condition of this one in Frank Sounds Frenchman Drive area. Wow. I mean, they're still elected members. Even if you're not part of the current government, you could at least keep that park looking halfway decent. You jumped up and put it in to say, "Oh, look at me, look at me, look at what I'm doing," and then look at the park a couple months later. Overgrown with so much weed and bush that the poor children can't go there and play and take advantage of that. No family can have a little birthday party there. They'd have to pay to have it service themselves, to have landscaping come in. Anyway, put that on pause. Good morning, Minister Sabrina Turner.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you?
I'm
and your
fantastic.
Viewing audience.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Now, you're also the MP for the Prospect area, and yes, you're here to tell us today a little bit about what you have been doing and how busy you have been. Now, first of all, Sabrina, we've not spoken to you since you've been elected.
I think. No, I've been on with Dr. Lee.
You came on with Dr. Lee. I'm sorry. Yes, you did come on with Dr. Lee. We had that that COVID specific segment, but we don't know what you've been doing in your constituency, and I'm sure a lot of people are very, very curious. So I do know that you've been extremely busy. So let's break it down. Your constituency office, of course, we were there on Victory Day when you opened. Well, your office was open for that, but we were there. You know, we know where your office is located, but just remind people again the location of your office.
Yes, the Prospect constituency office is located 33 Marina Drive. It's pretty much the second residential home on the left as you enter Marina Drive. So it'll be after the second house after Poola's Cabinets, and it's right on the main artery of Prospect. However, it is in the electoral district of Red Bay. So I'm pretty much bordering where the two actually meet. One side of the road is Red Bay, the other side is Prospect. And I must say things have been going well. I have been applauded of my efforts in being proactive in establishing a constituency office. I did it all in faith, and people thought I was a bit presumptuous when I was doing that. And it's because when I set my mind to something, I go with it wholeheartedly. I don't think negative. And here I am today as the elected member and a minister in cabinet. And I from what feedback I've gotten so far, they said you couldn't find a better minister of health into these turbulent times.
Well, that's good. Now I see that you have been doing, I see Miss Lizette says, check the so-called park at Prospect. You've got a park. Is it one or two parks in your Prospect area? Is it just one park?
There's only one park, and that falls within the Red Bay constituency. But before electoral boundaries, what we know about Prospect, as we Caymanians know it, after election season is over, all electoral boundaries fall away. So that is considered the Prospect Community Park. It is a project that was embarked on some almost 3 years ago. It's honesty, it's going almost 5 years ago that we started it. Straight down, Mr. Archer actually secured the funding for the Prospect Red Bay Community Group, and then it yielded into itself. And of course, we work jointly with the elected officials in getting that done. And to be honest with you, it's just the processes to make sure that things are done above board. And where the last meeting that I was involved in prior to getting elected, they were in the procurement process of sorting out landscaping. This is a hot topic with the community group and continues to be in it. And it is one that will come to fruition as we work jointly to get that park completed. It is the biggest, to the best of my knowledge, on the island, and based on the 6 lots that was secured. And for the plans, it's all in the public's domain. It's just a matter of going through the hoops and hurdles to get it completed.
Okay, now speaking of landscaping, I'm going to pull up some pictures here. So this is some of your landscaping crew, some of your team there in Prospect. Explain to us where this is and what is it that they're actually doing.
Okay, this came about long after the cleanup, after the two back-to-back tropical storms. That government was allotted the 15,000. Each elected member was allotted 15,000 to assist in the cleanup within our various constituents. And long after those funds had been exhausted, we continued because we saw the need to make our community look and keep at a standard in which we were accustomed to. And then there were some elderly persons that needed assistance in their immediate yard. That particular picture was a Sunday 2 weeks after it was finished, and I called some of my work crews to go in the back of Miss Cohen's house, actually, off of Orange Drive. And she had a lot of fruit trees, and we were there. I did not injure myself. We were there cleaning up her yard. But the one that the first picture that you showed was actually the big roundabout in the front of Prospect Primary School. When I went and to stand there to see if we could do it, it looked quite easy. The grass was pretty much up to our thighs. So we didn't think it was right for the parents and children of the Prospect Primary School to drive in the Monday morning and see a roundabout right in the middle of that area. And we took that on as a project. We did not finish, in all honesty, until after 9. That's how thick and how big it was. And we've been doing that. If we have to be honest, of all the I can go there, of all the areas with this cleanup, Prospect were on the ball. We got it done in record time. I was able to provide jobs for a lot of young people that had no jobs over the summer vacation. And because of that, in their works, a number of them has secured employment after this cleanup exercise. I want to thank all of the persons that made it possible, Michelle Forbes, and definitely Carrie, he was there for me. Yes, Carrie Lawrence was there for me. He didn't bat an eye. He gave us his vehicle and his workmen. And what I admire with him, not once has he ever thought about compensation. That was there for we could almost say we did that for a month. And Kerry was willing, and he stepped up to the plate to help out instead of us having to use government resources. Despite DEH falling under my remit, we never used DEH services until they were cleaning up Georgetown. And I was happy for that, because then they could focus those resources on other areas that weren't moving as quickly as we did in Prospect. So I want to thank the Prospect people for supporting us in a sense. When they saw those long days, those long Sundays, people were giving us water and juices and stuff. They really appreciated all the efforts that we made within the community.
Right. Wow. Well, I mean, I'm surprised though, because isn't that roundabout normally as an MP, you shouldn't be cleaning up roundabouts, right? Because isn't that the remit of, would that be the NRA?
It falls under NRA, but again, we're all in this for one Cayman, and again, it's all about being proactive and doing what we can. It was not easy. I did call my colleague, Mr. Ebanks, and they said that that was on the list of things to do, but that is a major artery. And I must say the next day that the guys were out there, and I see where things are picking up, but we must not forget that those two back-to-back storms, I don't really think people realize the amount of trees that were lost.
Oh my gosh.
And it was big. It was huge undertaking. Just look at one of the dumping sites that was established across from the very same Prospect Primary School that we're now converting to mulch and give to the farmers. There was a lot of down trees, and that was my part in assisting to keeping in line with my promise to the people, making sure that our area is always as clean and landscaped as best as we can at all times.
Okay, well, let's talk about some other things that you've had going on specifically in your constituency. One of the things that you've been doing is your vaccine drive. And of course, not just encouraging people to go out and get vaccinated, but you brought vaccination into the District of Prospect. So tell us a little bit about how that idea came about and how it's been going for you thus far.
It's been going great. I must say it is actually infectious, because I was speaking to, I was on Radio Cayman with Public Health, and they had explained how they were actually wanting to reach as much persons as possible. If the people didn't come to Owen Roberts International or the flu clinic at HSA, you know, whatever we could do in our constituencies, they were willing to help. Automatically, I knew that I had the facilities there that I could accommodate them. I stepped on it to see exactly how it would have taken off, and it took off by storm. A lot of people appreciated me for bringing it into the community. They had the opportunity to come from work, or after they take their kids home from school, they would just pop in there. Even people from the eastern districts took advantage with the traffic going up in the afternoons, and they stopped into the Prospect constituency office, and they took advantage of getting vaccinated and knowing their numbers. We didn't only limit it to vaccines. We also were able to provide blood glucose, cholesterol, and high blood pressure checks. So people were able to get a little physical. And because of us giving first and second doses, they automatically came back and put us on a schedule 3 weeks thereafter. Now people from the community are actually waiting for the next date, despite it being happening at the Lion Center now. The people still want to come to my constituency office in Prospect. So I must say has been well received. More works are in the play with doing more screenings and having medical professionals at the constituency office, so that we can make sure that we keep our community and our people as healthy as possible.
And here we have, folks, a sample of what Sabrina is talking about, her free health screenings and COVID-19 shots. Again, right in the constituency, right at her constituency office at number 33 Marina Drive. It was one evening from 4 to 7 p.m. And I think you've had a few of these now, Sabrina, am I correct?
Yes, we've had about, I would say on the vaccine uptake, we've had about 3, but people prefer the 4 to 7 because with the traffic coming up, in the evenings. The 7 o'clock
A
is
little bit
fine. The last
earlier. Yeah.
time, yeah, the last time we had, I think it was 96 that showed up, persons.
Oh,
That's a
wow.
combination of both first and second doses. So
Mhm.
obviously our numbers are climbing, and as people understand and get more to trust the vaccines, you know, we're seeing more of an uptake. And what I'm seeing an increase of, in all honesty, Sandra, is our older Caymanians that were a little bit apprehensive about it before. They're now coming out and they're taking them.
And I noticed here that you actually had free transportation as well. Tell us a little bit
All the
about.
time. All the time.
So especially for elderly people or people who are just
Yeah.
not mobile.
Exactly.
take
So if
advantage of that.
persons are able to get there, we're able to take them back. If they can't, if they don't have a ride to get to come to me at all, we can pick them up and take them back. So it works both ways.
Very nice. Now I'm looking for a picture because I know that you've done this before and I have seen it, where you're offering a hair cutting service. Now this is a little bit different. And this
That was
was
the
done, I
back to
think,
school. That was the back to school drive.
yes. So tell us how did that idea come about? And how has that particular initiative been working out so far?
Well, it was actually just for that Saturday when we were distributing this back to school supplies to the constituents in the Prospect electoral area. Yes, I had to actually be specific, understanding the needs of our nation and that I represent all. But this is my first run at this. This was a first big event where back to school is concerned, and I had limited amount of supplies in order to distribute. So I also know that people are strapped for cash, and back to school is an expensive time. Instead of just giving school supplies, my small team and they came up with the idea of having boys haircuts and little ladies to do manicures. And let me tell you something, that took off with storm for the amount of little divas, I call them, that took advantage of those manicures and the joy over on their faces, getting there and being pampered by those service, and the young men who came to get their lineup and their free haircuts. It really added a difference to them. They were excited over the event, and the school bags was a collaborative effort. You see me, I look kind of rough. That's because I still had a work crew on the road cleaning up after Ida. So that day, we had like 3 things going on at the same time, but I was able to make myself available to promote this initiative and still go back on the road with the work crew who were along roadsides and in people's yards cleaning up. So I apologize for looking as rough as I was, but when it comes to just giving back and working in the community, nobody looks at that.
Yes. So here's a young man here who's getting his hair nice and trimmed up.
Yeah, that's Ali B. Barbers. Yes.
Yes, getting ready for school.
Yes.
And these kids, of course, took advantage of the little school packs.
And they were able to choose. They were able to choose whatever style of school bag that they wanted. And there was books and pencils and highlighters and little rulers. And we had them for boys and girls. And I must say that these kids were ecstatic, not over, they want to go back to school with the new school bag. And this year we put a little bit more emphasis in making sure that the bags were of quality and they're genuine Jan Sport. I must thank my colleague, the Deputy Premier, Mr. Chris Saunders, who did not only think of himself, but he extended it to those who wanted to share in ordering a big order, and we all split the cost. So that's where one hand washed the other and helped the other in this case.
Wonderful. And you said at the same time you were working with this cleanup crew.
That crew was on the road, and the good thing with that is that I had all Caymanians, some that were working with public health and was retired, and the sense of pride that they all felt knowing what they were doing, that even the young men, some of the young men were as young as 13 years 14 years with permission from their parents because they were just sitting home idly during the summer holidays, and they thanked me for giving them the opportunity. Now, it wasn't just out there raking up yards. It got them to interact with the older seniors within our community. It allowed them to also be mentored by also retired Caymanians that live within the community. And now when I drive through every road, and I actually do that in the night. So they say, Miss Sabrina, there's a sense of pride when we look at our work. And I could hear the young men say, Miss, we look better than Red Bay, we look so much better than Red Bay. What road is going? Yes, it was almost like a competition, making sure that they could cover as much ground as possible and comparing it with other areas along Cayman. And I must say, I saw that in their actions. They were dedicated. They were there every morning from 7 o'clock. And if we had to work 13-hour days into the night, including fanning and beating mosquitoes, they never gave up. They stayed with it because they wanted Prospect to be what we know Prospect is, the cleanest community when it came to that exercise.
And here we have the little young ladies enjoying their little manicure time. Oh, that's so cute.
Right. Yes.
Getting ready for school. Very nice.
And you know what was interesting about that event, and I think you got caught with that bug yourself. They came, they did not only get their service and collect their school supplies. People sat in the living room and they interacted with all the other residents. And the kids, they were just there and taking it all in. And that's the feeling, that's the energy that I want with that constituency office. And it's obviously proven its purpose. People are very happy that they have a constituency office in Prospect to come to.
And I mean, to me, it's so amazing because on the one hand, it seems like a simple initiative to put in place to just ensure that you have a meeting area for people of the constituency. But then, as you have demonstrated, both you and Kathy have been on, she's doing different types of services. The constituency office acts as a hub for people to not just avail themselves of all of these services, but to just get to know other people in the community, which is so important.
Now, I know with what has been happening and, with my responsibility in health that covers public health, and for the impromptu meetings that we've been having and trying to control and manage, their Thursdays are my constituency days where I make myself available and I go in and I see constituents and hear their needs. For the past, I would say 3 weeks, that has been interrupted based on me dealing with national issues, and it has taken me away. But I do have an able team in the office that are able to troubleshoot and still engage and make themselves available to assist those who come to the constituency office. And we have assisted persons with the completions of form, just directing them and seeking various services. And they have expressed, oh, this is a difference, and we're happy. So even though it may not be me every Thursday or every day, Thursdays are those days, but when you're dealing with the national management of what we're dealing with right here, people are understanding of that fact that, they're understanding. But when I'm not in here, into work, I am either in the community, going door to door personally, or in the constituency office. There is no weekends for me since being elected and being placed into this. I honestly get up in the next morning, every morning, give thanks to God that he has woken me, and I just deal with whatever the day holds. I do not look at weekends. And at night, yes, you go to bed. You can see what time I responded to you this morning.
Yeah.
So,
my dear,
so
I myself was trying to get to bed before 1:30 in the morning. So when
yeah,
I saw you come in at 1:30, I said, oh, I wasn't the only one that was up late.
No. It's just a matter of we have what is key. What is the key takeaway here is that it's all about a balance.
Yeah.
The people have elected us to serve, but we cannot get disconnected from those who have elected us. And that requires a lot of time management. When you're in a ministerial seat, you did not get elected by being on the 5th floor of the government admin building. That comes with a privilege. Do not disconnect from your people. And that is why I have a very active Facebook and Instagram page for those who follow me on social media. But for those who are not so savvy with technology like that and still want to have that personal interaction, I avail myself as much as possible, be it by programs that are put on at the constituency office or outright going door to door.
Now, what is this picture here, Sabrina? Meadowlark next to bird sanctuary. Gosh, what's going on here? This looks like a river.
Oh, those are drains that needed blowing or servicing. And what we're finding is that there are going to be some road works. That is on the Newland side. That's across from our dear friend Irma's road. It's down in the Spots Newland side.
Newlands,
right.
Yeah.
So what happens is that for years, drains were placed at the request of constituents at a particular time of election season. And this is in the back of Raven Avenue. These pictures were taken immediately after Ida, and those people have been suffering for years. But really and truly, what they need down in there are culverts to push the water out of there. Just putting wells with the water lens being so high, and prior to constructing these homes, not sufficient, I guess, fill or preparation of the ground was done. So what happens? Mother Nature works in mysterious ways. She cleans back her own. So I have been in talks with Minister J. Ebanks, and once they're finished up right now in the Newlands area, the Deputy Premier, they're working their way down. People will be seeing works directly into the bedrock circle, actually. They will be seeing the rough works start in that, because we're going to put in culverts down in there to take away that water so that they won't have long-standing water anymore.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean,
some of the roads in Raven Avenue have been neglected going almost 20 years.
Oh, I'm looking at this picture, right? And this house is so beautiful.
It is.
Double garage, that nice roof and everything. And I'm thinking you can't even drive out of your nice home on the road right now, because look at this.
No, I had to turn around.
You'd have to take it straight to the mechanic shop driving that.
Yes, and I'm going to be honest with you. It stays there long enough that lily pads sometimes grow. So that if we don't have really a hot day and a lot of sun immediately after the torrential rains, these people suffer. And then we have mosquito-borne diseases. What I did, and I thank Dr. Wheeler and the MRCU crew, is that when I realized what down in there we're faced with immediately after Ida, I asked if the plane could do aerial sprays for me, and they did an extra flyover into the Prospect area and some of the other ones that had standing water to assist. Now we see where we're somewhat getting that back under control. But these people here who have suffered for years will see works being done in their area in short order. That was guaranteed to me as early as this week. As a matter of fact, yesterday I spoke to Mr. J about that, when he would be in our area.
Now we see this photo here. This looks like a CUC work crew, or at least one member, because in the background there, an entire light pole is down.
Yes, there was a single mother with 2 young children who had just invested in her first home, and I stand to be corrected. And that happened pretty much 3 weeks after she moved in. And I had to literally, with asking CUC crews to make sure now that everything was okay and I could go through those trees, I safely got to her house to make sure she was okay. And they directed a crew down in there to work, understanding the complexities and the fact that there were young children in that home that for one point they could not get out. There were 2 houses behind in the back there that are hidden by those wheat and willow trees and the down power lines.
Wow.
I actually, in that picture, the crew that's standing there with me, they actually got scared, because after I went through the tree limbs and stuff, being told that it was safe to go through, my crew did not realize I had already come out on the other end, and they heard the lines, like electricity was still in the line, and all I could see was people looking at me, and I didn't know what was going on. It looks as though all the electricity in the line was not cut. So I missed that one by a hair. Again, it just goes to prove how we need to be safe as possible, even when we're doing good. I could have got seriously injured there. No point intended with the cruise. That would have just been an unfortunate situation. But thank God, I was doing good, and there was an angel on my side out there.
My goodness, wow. Let's have a look at some of the comments that have come in. So Errol says, thanks, Sabrina, for cleaning up Miss Cohen's yard. She had so many fruit trees that were down. Cara says, Miss Sabrina, no need to apologize for how you looked. The only thing I see with you is there's some photos that you look real, not made up, just for show. So Cara likes the look of when you're working in your work boots and your regular attire. Miss Pat says, good morning, ladies. So proud of you. So happy the people made the right choice. Miss Turner. Dale has a question. Has government /minister of health has put in place a panel of local doctors to aid in the COVID-19 discussions? And Kevin has responded to that, saying that I put in multiple requests to have them on the show, and he's still waiting. So I'm not sure if you're aware, Minister Turner, but Kevin, who was with Cayman 27, he now works in the U.S. in the Tampa, Lakeland, Florida area as a public health. Kevin, tell me your official title again, but he's on the public relations side. And so he's actually put together a really wonderful panel. We've been doing a series called CMR COVID Spotlight Series, and we've had epidemiologists on. Last night we had Dr. Claudia Espinosa. She's an infectious disease expert specific to pediatrics and children, and she was able to talk about COVID-19 and children. Very, very wonderful information. So he's a public information officer, and he has access to a lot of people. On Thursday, we're going to have Dr. Oh gosh, his name just slipped me. But we have all these people lined up. But believe it or not, Kevin has been able to secure all of these experts. Some of them, like I said, virologists, epidemiologists, people in the front line of COVID, working in large hospitals, seeing thousands of patients. And he's having a hard time getting the local experts, on board to commit to a show, because we can talk about COVID-19, I suppose, all we want, but in absence of understanding what the local response will be, that's where the difficulty has come in. So I know he's reached out to Lizette, Dr. Lee, and some others, but he just hasn't been able to firm up any sort of confirmation. So going back to the question that was just posed by Jonathan, Dale, sorry, that Dale Solomon just posed. We're hoping, Dale, that Kevin can make some strides in getting in contact with those individuals. I think he's reached out to you as well, Minister. He said he'll reach out again.
Okay, please do. What has happened is that during this whole pandemic, and great minds, when you're dealing with what we're dealing with right now, no one person, and even in navigating these uncharted territories and waters with having to fight and manage COVID, I understand that Dr. Lee, the Chief Medical Officer, has reached out to a bunch of clinicians where he would spin things off, and then they all come to a consensus in better to advise us, the government and public health officials alike. But to say that there's a body, a structured, regulated body, not yet, because with getting a group of clinicians like that together, both private and through the HSA, to get all of their minds together to come, and they put up different scenarios, strategy plans. I think that's something that we need to regulate and probably get formal structure in place. So in direct response to that, to the best of my knowledge, this group of clinicians that Dr. Lee, our CMO, has requested to help us, the elected government, is not a regulated, structured group as yet, but that is something that I have voiced, that I think needs to continue, and that we both have private and public representatives from the industry placed on this. But I will definitely reach out to both Dr. Lee directly after this show, and whatever details, please tell him to send me the email, or maybe through you, you can get it to me.
Okay.
And I'll definitely make sure that somebody reaches out, be that from directly public health or Dr. Lee himself.
All right. Well, that's wonderful, Kevin. I'll send you those details. Thank you very much. So Jonathan says it looks like what they need in that area isn't just a drain. Looks like they need a water pump system of some sort. Yeah, it's a lot of standing water. Wow.
I'm definitely not an engineer, but the only thing that I can refer that area to, Sandra, is before they put in a culvert-like system. Remember what used to happen in Randike back in the day?
Right.
Similar to that is exactly what they need down in there. And what has complicated it is when they did the east-west arterial, that water was then actually, it created an automatic basin. And the more we continue to develop and your neighbor constantly go higher than you to avoid being flooded, those yards and buildings that have already been constructed, they eventually become a basin. And that's exactly what has happened in the bedrock circle.
Wow. Yes. I mean, Jonathan mentions that they must have some monster-sized mosquitoes down in there. Child.
As big as I am, they almost pick me up.
They will definitely
But it's not a laughing matter, to be honest. A lot of the people down in there are first-time homeowners, and they feel as though their voices have gone unheard. I made it my vow to the people that I will be their voice and I will be their hope, and that is what I'm doing. But of course, there are other areas too that works have begun, and what I do not want it to look at is that these needs are only addressed during election time, that this will be ongoing work because these needs are real, and it will be addressed. As if it's not started in the coming weeks, definitely they will see works done definitely before the end of the year, and it will continue throughout our tenure.
So we have here the Spots Newlands Community Park. Now this falls into your constituency?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was a cleanup effort at that park as well?
Yes, and we did that as well.
Okay.
And Miss Melba, we helped her as best as we could as well. She had, Miss Melba, yes, she lost a lot of fruit trees, and even in her yard, but there were some tasks that was just too large for us to handle. And you know what we did as well? The Spots Graveyard, Spots Beach. That was taking a little longer than we wanted it to do to clean up with the Parks and Recreation, and the crew went there and they cleaned that up, and the before and after pictures are actually on my Facebook page because we try to load as much as we can.
Yes.
But when we're doing this for the community, I sometimes, to be honest, I forget to capture the moment because I get involved in doing what the people have elected me to do. So a lot
there was some grave site photos here. Was this a grave cleanup effort as well?
Yes. We went into the graveyard. That's the one in the front of Spots Beach.
In the front. Okay. Yes. Okay.
And we're going to take that on as a project as well, where we want to go into the graveyards. And again, yeah, you can say it's Parks and Recreation, but I have a responsibility to make sure that our area is maintained. And we have the constituents who are willing to give back to the community just free of charge. And we want to do that as a project. I'm going to try to get some sponsorship with some white paint and maybe a couple of power wash machines, and we go there and we paint those graves that have been that need a little sprucing up, respectfully to those. Some are maintained and others are not, and like the fencing and stuff, that's what we want to do.
Wow, that's good. I like that. So lots of cleanup efforts. This is going back to August here, these photos in the constituency. So this was after the first storm, I believe.
Yes, and it rolled straight into the other one.
Yes. So there's been a lot of cleanup work in
Oh,
your
it
in
was
your
a
area.
lot. Yeah, no, I don't think people realize the scope
Yeah.
of what we had to go through here and in the short time. And in all honesty, I'm grateful to my colleagues who realized and we stepped up to the plate and we made sure that we secured funds so that we could get the necessary resources and provide short-term employment to our constituents. But I
Mhm.
gotta be honest with you, a lot of us use our personal funds in order to add on to that 15,000 when you include refreshment, just your supplies and the trucking of the material. So
Mhm.
Mitchell, Forbes, Fluff, I can't thank them enough. And like I said, Carrie Lawrence, oh
Mhm.
my God, they're not words that I can thank them enough. They were just there. But I made sure I took care of all of the crews, all the lunch, breakfast was done, hot beverages. They were like, wow, this is like coming home to mama.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Well, you've definitely been keeping busy, my dear. I mean, there's no two ways about that. And then
That's
people
what
have
I've been
to
elected to do.
yeah, and people have to remember that in addition to that, you obviously have your own ministry, which again, I always caution first time MPs because I know it's such a balancing act, but for them to take on a ministry, because I think it's a lot. That alone is a full time job and then some. And then, of
Yes,
course, you can see yourself here with ministers J.E. Banks and Chris Saunders and parliamentary, they're not
Secretary.
secretary, yes, Catherine Wilkes as well.
That
So
was
there's
in
a
West
lot
Bay
to
to
be
show.
done.
Yes, this was at Prospect Primary School ahead of the pending storm. We opened up that shelter because that's a
Mhm.
Class A shelter. And with the public health staff, knowing what they were going through in just tracking and managing this COVID, I thought that it was important for me to show my support. And I
Mhm.
visited that shelter that night with the ladies and gentlemen that were there
Mhm.
to show them that you're just not deployed here, that you're elected, the minister really and genuinely
Mhm.
care for them.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I even see that you've been doing some stuff with recycling bins
Yes,
in the community as well.
yes, that was something that I campaigned
Yes.
on, and it has been well embraced. I just need to appeal to the public that if it says only cardboard, plastics, and aluminum, that's all we want there. We
Hmm.
do not want TVs and mattresses, that sort of stuff, car parts, household garbage. We only want recyclable materials. Please, so far from what I'm seeing, uh, people have somewhat been adhering, but every now and again we'll get things that are not supposed to be dropped off there. So I'm
Hmm.
just appealing to the public, only take recyclable materials and products at that location. I wanted to thank Barcam for allowing us to put it there, and that's the collaborative works of Mr. Richard Sims, DEH, and their crew for making sure that this was brought back within that area.
Right. And are there some other locations as well in your constituency, or is this it for
This is
Prospect?
it for now. The shortage, there are some shortage in bins. I
Mm-hmm.
am aware that more orders have been placed because a number of other people along overall the island want these receptacles here, but that there are a lot of logistical issues. Not everybody may want them on their properties, but wherever there is maybe government or partnership with businesses within the other constituencies, once we have those bins, we will make sure that we are able to put them out there to
Mm-hmm.
encourage recycling.
Sure. And tell us what's going on in this picture from July the 23rd.
Yes, that July 23rd was myself and NRA crews out on the road. We were double checking and cataloging drains. Mr. McLean there, Mr. Junior, he had a drain that was placed on the inside of his yard. And people, the NRA crews thought that it was a personal drain.
Oh,
So what we were doing is making sure that all drains were cataloged as being on the line for getting serviced, and
right.
areas where I know that there are lots of settling, that they would be addressed. And when the rough works begin, that we
Mhm.
would catch those areas. But again, no more can we just put these drains down if areas definitely need culverts. So we're going to change the approach, and I'm hoping that in very short order, in collaboration with the NRA crews, that these flooding issues will be something of the past. I wouldn't use the word eradicated, but definitely we will see an improvement where we would have normal standing water, that you will see that diminish greatly. And we're asking people, please, when your gardening companies come, do not allow them to blow the tree clippings into drains that are placed in the roads. Use those blowers and blow them, put them into a bundle, pick them up and take them away, because we're finding a lot of the drains are being obstructed by, yes, from these landscapers.
Yeah. I don't even know why they blow. That's something that has always bothered me, to be honest. I'm like, why are they being lazy? Because that's
Or
a
blow
lazy.
it out of the yard that they're cleaning and put it onto the main road for it to just blow right back in. It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Now I
But
see
let
this
me
weekend,
go ahead.
you were busy as well, attending some services.
That was
And this
Sunday.
was for is this the breast cancer awareness
Month? Yes, the Lions Club of Tropical
we're now in?
Gardens. They invited me to speak, and I must say it was a very good service, and it was warm. The previous Minister of Health, Mr. John was there, so we all took part. And I must say, the Lions there, they're unsung heroes, and they are my superheroes. I stated that in my message to them on Sunday. We need to give, kudos to them and their continued efforts, and go online and shop. They have some nice things online, and that's your way of contributing to the cause. I'm wearing a pin right now, actually.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I probably mentioned this before, but I think a lot of us have been touched by breast cancer in some form or another from family members. So we'll definitely throughout the month have a number of persons on the program talking about, breast cancer awareness, what services are available here in the Cayman Islands as well. Well, Minister, thank you so much. I wasn't even watching the clock, so
you caught me too. And you know why? Because I'm actually in the office. I'm going to caucus, and I'm like, I'm glad I did that, because then I'm not rushing to try and leave home to get here. That's why it was so comfortable. But I want to thank you for giving us this outlet. Many a times, the works that were done is not known, but the people know whose lives I have touched and continue to touch, even in my capacity now. And out of respect for that, I don't want my reign to be a photo op. I just want to know, and the people know that I'm working. And right now, with the ministry that I have, you need to be with your full faculties at all time. We had our first touch into Parliament the past 2 days to see what that is like. And I must say that that's another topic, and I'm quite sure our premier will go. I don't want to take the thunder out of the two representatives that tabled those bills, but you would understand the importance of where my ministry came into it. Yesterday, my presentation, I had no intentions of speaking, but when you look at Ministry of Health and Wellness, I could not leave there and not contribute to the bill. And hence, it was honestly off the cuff. I did it. I spoke from my heart, and that's exactly where I stand. And just that experience is if that is a map of what we're having to endure for the next 4 years, we're ready for it.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much. Again, we appreciate you coming onto the program. So folks, in case you've been missing it, every Wednesdays, Impact Wednesdays, members of the current government are able to come on and give us an insight more in terms of their specific constituencies, what they have going on, and how they've been servicing the people. So yeah, absolutely wonderful. So thank you so much.
But thank you.
Yep. Minister Sabrina Turner, Minister of Health and Wellness. I'm sure that she's going to have a lot more going on at her constituency office. And the next time she joins us, she'll keep us updated on the services available there.
I hear some whispers from my crew, but that all depends on what we're doing with the community spread, managing and living with COVID. But there's something up our sleeves for kids and Halloween. The Christmas season is here. That Cayman Thanksgiving is coming. But even though we have a full agenda, we have to be conscious of what's going on within our public and from public health standpoint. So follow me on social media, and I'll definitely share and keep you abreast with everything. And I will get into the practice and habit of taking more pictures.
So someone says to remember to thank Foster's, Hurley's, I think that's AI, and Food for Less, yes, for providing refreshments.
Yes. Oh, my humble apologies. Yes, I must say thank you to the corporate sponsors who were able to provide Gatorade and water and different refreshments for the work crew. Yes, oh my gosh, Hurley's, Foster's, Cost You Less, and of course our dear friend Miss Irma, who was able. But Woody, that was a no-brainer. Randy, a no-brainer. And I'm quite sure a lot of these people are not in for the limelight, but I honestly, I can't do this alone. It takes corporate sponsors. I remember during the tropical storm, where the office is, they have a cistern, and the cistern overflow. And there was water on the inside of the constituency office. And I want to thank Virgil Seymour, who was there, and he was able to clean and dry out the place for me because of everything that was going on there and the health screenings and stuff. And these are real corporate superheroes that they stepped up to the plate, a beckon's call, and they're dealing with my mats and stuff. But what was key is making sure that a humidifier was in there. There were no chance for mold to build up, and they stepped up to the plate. But yes, the refreshments and beverages for all of the crew, I want to thank everyone who made that possible.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks very much. A few final comments. Alex says, I take my hat off to you. Keep up the good work. Minister
Thank
Turner,
you.
God bless your health. Nick says, I agree with you, Sandy. It's very risky at first for a first-time MP to take on a ministerial ministry. However, Minister Turner is definitely staying committed to her constituency. Miss Charlene says, Minister, these landscaping companies, a lot of them just don't care. Not only do they do that, but including using blowers and appropriately blowing debris and dust into the common areas and into community homes. Very negligent indeed. And she thanks you for coming on the program. El Rey says, Virgil Seymour, Fabrizone. What is
Yes.
that in relation?
Fabrizone is the name of the company.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right. So thank you to Mr. Virgil as well. So again, Minister, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, and more communication from the public health standpoint in regards to the schools and making sure that welfare calls are coming to them. We understand that they were strapped for resources. We are doing everything, and we have done. So they should see an improvement in our response time. But again, that's another show from the government standpoint. And whenever I will make myself available in making sure that people are aware you're just not placed in isolation and forgotten. We're getting the resources to make sure that we keep in contact with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All righty. So folks, again, you've been listening to Impact Wednesdays. Folks, so big shout out to the Minister of Health and Wellness, none other than the Honorable Miss Sabrina Turner, telling us specifically what she's doing in her constituency. So folks, listen, this is what I always say. If you're doing something and people don't know what you're doing, then they don't know what you're doing. It's kind of like the old saying, if a tree falls down in the middle of the forest and nobody hears it, most people are like, well, I don't know that. I don't know what's going on. Did the tree really fall? And then the conspiracy theories jump on, well, I don't know if the tree fell, if an alien came and got the tree. So we let you know now here every single Wednesday what is going on with the individual MPs I don't know who we have scheduled for next week yet, but we will probably know in the next day or so who's coming up in the next couple weeks. So keep it locked here, folks. I mean, they are working. And so when the ever so salty, Alvin McLaughlin comes on and says, well, they're not doing nothing but bringing COVID back, you can see that actually they're very busy. So we tell you so that you can be informed. It's all about having proper information. So Ms. Sue says the NRA block up the drains themselves when they did roadworks, and they put them back. They put them back in the wrong. Hold on here now. They put them back in, put them in wrong place to drain the waterway. Okay. I think that drains, when you have a lot of rain, can only do so much. So I think we need to be realistic about, you know, you have to be realistic about how much those drains can actually do. All right. Let me see. Okay, so there is a new isolation period, folks. If you're a primary contact of someone who's tested positive, obviously that's a very different situation. But I want to just clarify this, because I think we neglected to put the days in the article, although it's in the video, which is in the article. Let's be very, very clear. Isolation time has been reduced for vaccinated households. So Public Health made this announcement yesterday that with immediate effect, there is a reduction in the isolation period for primary contacts in households with all fully vaccinated persons from 14 to 10 days. Right? Again, those who qualify must be fully vaccinated at least 14 days prior to the contact with a vaccine that is on the chief medical officer's approved list. This does not apply to households with a positive case, nor does it include households with children that are unvaccinated or unable to be vaccinated. So, folks, as of yesterday morning, another 1,232 PCR tests were conducted, 5 new positives in travelers, and 10 in members of the community, mostly staff and students from Clifton Hunter High School, and additionally from the Baptist Christian School. So they've been doing a lot of testing, folks. COVID vaccines continue to rise. So now we have a total of 107,891 COVID vaccines given in total. Of those, 55,376, which is 78%, have at least one dose. And then that's 89% of those over the age of 12. And then we have 52,405 having completed both dosages. So that's why we're now at the 74%. So we're inching ever closer, folks, to that 80% mark that they're hoping to get to in order for us to reopen. I suspect, and you can agree with me or not, but the more positive cases that we have, the more you will find that you'll be able to see that number increasing. It's just a fact that people are going to be like, oh gosh, another increase. Let me get vaccinated. Another positive. It's going through all the schools. So there is a, I'm sure you guys have gotten it. I've gotten it at least 10 times already this morning. There is, there is a number of individuals, there is a number of individuals circulating this message that about WhatsApp changing their policy overnight or something like that, folks. don't be fooled by this sort of stuff. How many times have we gone through this? It says WhatsApp settings updated overnight without warning. WhatsApp not doing no such thing. Believe me, you. Right now, and this has been circulated before. So if you go Google it, you'll see that this has been around the block once before, at least twice or three times before. No, WhatsApp has not changed its privacy settings overnight, folks. Stop sending these messages around. There's a reason why people get you to circulate this. They're testing the waters and how easily and gullible they can send out messages, and then next thing you know, just don't send it. It hasn't happened. Right now, poor Mark Zuckerberg, he's looking at his stock gone down 5%, 6%. He's not doing nothing. Trust me. I know that's a double negative, but I'm going to use it anyway. He's not doing nothing to upset anybody, and no, they've not changed their privacy settings. So stop sending the foolishness around. Just relax yourselves. All right, what else did we have on the agenda that we wanted to touch on today? So we did a little bit of COVID update. We spoke to the good minister. Oh, mandating vaccines. Well, we don't have enough time to talk about that. So let's talk about that tomorrow. One point of clarification. The question was asked by Blake and Aaron earlier, and we do have a response from the civil service, the head of the civil service. So the announcement was made yesterday that France Manderson will be bringing, head of the civil service, will be bringing changes to the Public Service Management Act to mirror what the government has done in terms of work permit holders. So non-Caymanians who are contracted workers will have to be vaccinated. So all the different services, prison service, whatever, wherever you are in government, if you're a non-Caymanian and you're on a contract, yep, you're gonna have to get the jab. If you don't want it, you've got choices. It's called go back home. And you know what? Probably wherever you're from, you know, you will you'll have to be required to do it anyway. So someone mentioned this morning or yesterday that apparently Jamaica only has a 10% vaccination rate. I find that hard to believe. Is it really that low? Wow, that's pretty low. If that's true, I'm not impressed with those numbers. But you know, a lot of it is cultural too. Like people, depending on your culture, believe all sorts of really unusual and weird things. I don't know what to tell you about that, but folks, get your facts from reliable sources. I had someone sending me something yesterday from some doctor so and so, and they're like, "Well, he's a doctor." I'm like, not everyone that's a doctor, you know, has their head screwed on quite right. And not only that, but not everyone that's a doctor has an interest in keeping you properly informed. Sometimes doctors have ulterior motives to why they do some of the things that they do when it comes to peddling misinformation. So yeah. All right, good folks. That's it. I am feeling considerably better than I was yesterday. So I think yesterday I literally stayed home all day. I didn't go anywhere. Just got some much needed rest. But you know, even when you're home and even when you're sick, the computer is always calling your name. Sandy, there's a story. Did you guys see the car? I tell you, every single time I have to take a time out and take a nap, something happens. Did y'all see that car that was on fire yesterday down by oh my gosh, where was it? Right across from CNB, the main headquarters there on Elgin Avenue. It's crazy. Look at this fire. My goodness. I'm like, what? Of course, a lot of pictures were up and people circulating the videos, but most people didn't have the story in terms of what happened. So this was a guy who's an actual DJ driving his car, trying to mind his own business. And boom, next thing you know, the car's being overheated and all this stuff is going on. And he calls his mechanic. The mechanic was like, call 911. Well, child, you don't have to tell me that twice. I would be like, call 911. You better believe it. So by the time he could pull in, this is what was going on. This side. Big shout out to our fire services. Those guys work so hard. They got there to put the fire out before it could cause any additional damage. I did see at least one or two cars next to it had some damage as well. Can you imagine? Woo! Now that is what you truly call a hot mess. So there you have it. What a hot mess. Thank you, Miss Charlene. Shannon says, well, yes, I'd like to hear more about other news, but this show is now all about vaccines. We talk about a lot of things, actually, Shannon, but vaccinations and COVID-related news is a big part of what's in the news all over the world. If you were to go right now and Google the top news stories anywhere in the world, you would not be able to find a single news media that is not covering, let me see, top stories. Go to Google, click on news. All the top stories, folks, when you click on top stories, they all relate to, well, Facebook going down. We've already talked about that. So if you missed yesterday's show, you missed that topic. So there's lots of stuff that we cover. But look, vaccine and the economy. Oh, look, there's a story about the Queen. Prince Harry and Meghan. Y'all want to talk about that one tomorrow? Oh, look, another COVID story. Jamaica's Carter tests positive. Oh, that's not positive for COVID. That's positive for some other substance. Naughty, naughty. So we cover, oh, here's CBS News talking about the body in Orlando found confirmed to be Maya Marcano. We had that story up from Saturday. So yeah, we cover a lot of stories, but hey, I can't help it if COVID is what's in the news. It is what it is, chill. However, one thing you Shannon, you got to make sure you don't miss a beat, because if you're missing these other discussions and then you hop in and you're like, oh, we're talking about COVID again. We just spent half an hour at least speaking to the good minister, Sabrina Turner, and she was talking about all the wonderful stuff that she's been doing in her community, 99% of it, which has nothing to do with COVID. So don't miss it. Now, listen, there's something called the, what is it? What are the papers called? Is your hand still listening? It's not the Panamanian papers this time. It's something else, child. Someone said, according to the CDC, Jamaica has 9.5% of their population fully vaccinated. That's interesting because we know that the vast majority of people who come into Cayman to work are actually from Jamaica. So we'll see how that works out. Let me see. Now I know Johan had sent me, he's in the finance industry. He had sent me some good information on this. And this is all about, hold on one second now. Oh, you know what? Speaking of that, let me share a little graph here. Don't get upset, Shannon, but yes, this is a COVID-based graph. The not Panamanian papers, what's it called again? This latest leak, Pandora papers. I don't know where they come up with these names. Pandora's box, maybe. So this is a massive leak of documents. Let's look at this one tomorrow. That has really highlighted 12 million documents that reveal hidden wealth, tax avoidance, and in some cases, money laundering by some of the world's rich and powerful, including world leaders. Nobody should be surprised by that. Pandora, thank you, Christopher. El Rey's on it. Rena's on it. Sabrina's on it. Natasha is like, it's Pandora already. Thank you, guys. So, yes, it's very, very interesting. And we're going to lean into that for tomorrow's discussion. However, let's look at what's happening around the region as it relates to vaccinations. Look at Cayman at the top. Listen, we're winning in some regards. We have the highest number of people fully vaccinated in the Caribbean. You go, Cayman. This is as of October the 1st. TCI is next. Remember, TCI has already reopened. Now, mind you, this figure for TCI, I do have to wonder about because our amount isn't 64%. So I know that this is a little bit off. Where are they getting these figures from? Because ours is 74%. TCI is actually in the 70s. So TCI is neck and neck with us. And I only know that because I actually emailed their Minister of Health. Let me just see here. Turks. Let me just see here. I emailed them TCI maybe a week ago. Oh, yes. They said they currently have, this was as of September the 27th, they have 72.3% of the population in TCI fully vaccinated. So these numbers are not 100% correct, but I guess maybe in order, they're more or less the same. Sabrina says they're using old census numbers. Okay. Could be. But yeah, probably the order is more or less correct. But look at poor Jamaica, all the way down at the bottom, right next to Haiti. Whoa, that's not good. Wow, what a mess. All right, well, there you have it. Take it with a sprinkle of salt because I think the exact figures are a little bit off, but the order might be give or take some percentage points, right? But it says here that Cayman is in the number one slot in the region, which Dr. Claudia last night did say our numbers she thought were pretty good in terms of vaccination numbers. So we're getting there. And yes, I'm going to say it again. Go get vaccinated. If you don't like it, then what can you do? I need to bring my little sound effects back. Since my hubby set up the new computer for me a couple months ago, he hasn't had time to do that, child. He's been busy. Yeah, he's been extremely busy. So he's like, I see your list, but I'll get to you. I'm like, oh, what happened to my list of stuff? Anyway, that's how it works, folks. He's not on the payroll or anything. He just helps me out where and when he can. So I'm at the mercy of his time. All right, good folks. That's all I got for you today. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the program as usual. Shall we do a little outro video with salty, extra mech salty Alden? Let's have another look at him in that Caymanian accent. I must say, I enjoyed hearing it when it came out there for a second. I was like, you go, Alden. You go, Bobo. Who you talking to? Who you talking to, boy? Yeah, don't mess with Alden.
What's your problem, sir?
What's your problem, sir?
You talking to me?
Talking to me? Hold on now. Those are fighting words, boy. What your problem, sir? You talking to me? I'm gonna beat you up, you know. You better watch yourself.
What's your problem, sir? You talking to me?
for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.